Hi, Tom. Hi, friends. My name is Ashley Ariana. I just had a stroke. Welcome back to my channel. We had a really exciting game, and clearly I need to tamper it down so I can get my wording correctly. I'm joined today by Sports Illustrated's Tom Jensen. It's always a wonderful day when you and I can talk, Tom. And this day is
Absolutely.
more exciting because it's like the day after a game.
Yeah, this is cool to come after a Monday night game and talk about it. It's fun.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. You doing okay?
Yeah, you look nice.
Oh, thanks.
You look really clear. I'm doing good. I'm making some stuff for like I was in charge of the Christmas desserts because there's a couple people in our Christmas party. We're having one with my partner's family and one with mine. And I can't eat gluten or dairy, but also a party that I'm going to, there's other people that can't do that. And the people hosting are like, I don't know how to cook for that. You're in charge of the desserts, which I love. But that means there's a lot of sugar and sweets at my house. And I was like, when you're making stuff, you got to try it to make sure it tastes good.
Oh,
And
sure.
I've had a lot of sugar, which may be coming across.
Well, 'tis the season. It's if you can't feed your sweet tooth in the holidays, when can you?
This
You
is
know, this is the time to eat the chocolate. Come on.
This is a non-49ers question, but I feel like for like the colder holidays, there's pumpkin, there's apple cider, and then there's like peppermint. Do you have like which one is your favorite? I was gonna say my favorite is the chocolate pepper.
Wow.
I love a chocolate, so I like a peppermint. Some people think it
Yeah.
tastes like toothpaste.
Well, I'm lucky. My mom was an amazing cook, and she made mince pie for the holidays, which was phenomenal. And then we would have French vanilla ice cream with it, and it was just to die for.
Just perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then also hopefully my dad's doing okay. I'm going up with him. He says, "Hi Ashley, hi Tom." I called him earlier.
Oh, Leroy?
We were chatting last night, and he was so hyped up like me about the game. He
Oh,
must
sure.
be yelling at the TV because when I called him, his voice was gone this morning. So hopefully
I remember that where I had some of those where the next day I can't talk. But it was great. Yeah, phenomenal game. That was fun.
Tom, the 49ers are now 11-4. If you remember to start the season, we did like a prediction, and I originally said I thought the 49ers wouldn't win 13 games. Crossing my fingers, I hope I'm correct.
You
But
could be.
this was pre all the injuries. This was, with them not really making many moves this offseason. And I think I might have even been talked down to 12 wins. And that was, once again, thinking
that's my fault.
Ayuk was going to be there, thinking Brock was going to be healthy, Kittle, Fred Warner, all that. It's pretty incredible. Now, there is the caveat that obviously this is a much easier schedule than last year, but it is pretty incredible with all the adversity and seemingly like them taking their foot off the gas and retooling or whatever they wanted to call it for this year, that they've had this much success. Almost scoring 50 points in Indy. Now, obviously, it was kind of an offensive shootout on both sides of the ball, but it was a really dominant and exciting game from my standpoint. How did you feel about the game? What are your immediate takeaways?
Well, you have to look at what this offense is doing right now, and it's amazing. During the game, they had a spread of the two games, this week, last week. They scored on 16 of 19 possessions. That's scoring 84% of the time, which is unheard of. And that's how efficient this offense is. And dropping 48 points, it's the most points they've scored since 2019. This is how good this team is playing now, is that they're matching the offensive scoring output of a Super Bowl team. That's how good this offense is. So that's the main takeaway, is the offense is phenomenal. And Brock is playing at this 2023 level. And bigger hello and thank you very much. Appreciate the kind words. It's just everything's clicking. That Kittle, though he's got the ankle injury at the end, but he still played really well. Christian McCaffrey goes over 1,000 yards, and so now he's approaching 1,000. It's an exciting time for the offense. For the defense, there's a lot of concerns, but the offense playing this well is a big step toward advancing in the playoffs.
Absolutely. The 5 touchdowns that Brock Purdy had, I think it was Jose on SI with you, had a stat that the last time that was done was in the Super Bowl by Steve Young. So very, very many years ago. Before that, it was Joe Montana who had 6 touchdowns in a regular season. But it's been quite some time since we've seen such a dominant performance, not only by an offense, but by a quarterback. I got to give Brock Purdy his praise. There's some people in the chat kind of saying that. And I'm 100% with you. I think this is the last 2 games are the best we've seen Brock Purdy not only look this year, but maybe in his career, where he's definitely, and maybe I'm being hyperbolic and just not thinking about other dominant performances. But the fact that the last 2 games, the offense has been so dominant. And it's not that Christian McCaffrey hasn't had his impact, because he has, but it hasn't been like spam the Christian McCaffrey button. There's been a lot of distributing the ball. Brock Purdy is actually throwing down the field. He's scrambling, taking open lanes a little more last week than this week, but he had one longer run yesterday. So I just think that quit hitting on Tom. Tom, I'm hitting on you. My bad. I can't.
No, he means within the chat.
And I think Tom's the real MVP in my books. I agree, bigger than life.
Well, appreciate it, guys, but come on now. It's just Brock is playing the best he has in years, and that's an exciting development for them. He's got zip on the ball. He's throwing with anticipation. He's throwing with accuracy. Yeah. He's hitting guys in stride, and that enables the yak to get that much more, and it just puts the team in a great position going forward. They've got a ton of confidence going into the 2 biggest games of the year, and that's something that they can ride on. And that Brock is now playing instinctive, organically. He's not overthinking anything. He's just playing. And when Brock's in that mode, he's hard to stop.
For the most
and very few teams have stopped him.
So. Yes. For the most part, he's also protected the football. Obviously, there was a turnover at the very end of yesterday's game. Depending on what angle from the TV you look at it, I do think it was sailed a little bit on Brock. I know it got hit, and that's a little bit why it was intercepted. But I think you're right. For the most part, he's playing on instincts, and he's also making the smart play. And it's exciting when you can kind of mesh the 2 of those. Because sometimes when you're playing safe, it's like, okay, I'm not going down the field at all. I'm like giving up on plays, which we got to a point with Brock. It was kind of like, no, just live to the next down. It's okay to do that. But obviously the happiest marriage is when you can have a little bit of gunslinger in you, but you're making those decisions, on 3rd and 4th down when you got to have it, and when you're already up, and there's a smart way to go about it. Throwing an interception in the red zone on 1st down when you're like, trying to get a touchdown will always make my brain explode. And he hasn't been doing that recently. And I want to give him credit, not only for the good plays he's making, but for mitigating the negative plays, which, coming after.
He's making better decisions with the ball. He's not forcing things, and he's playing within himself. And that's exactly what they need. And that's their winning formula going forward, is Brock not turning the ball over, but still making plays downfield. And that's what he's done the last 2 weeks.
I want to visit some more about this offense and defense in a minute, but I thought that we would address, someone asked about Tatum Bethune. The 49ers, normally Kyle Shanahan does a call on the Monday after a Sunday game, but even earlier this year, there was a Monday game and there was still a call on Tuesday. I don't know if the 49ers landed in SFO at 3 a.m. last night, whatever you want to say that is, and then bus back to Levi's. So, and then also, so not only is it a short week, but also it's Christmas. For whatever reason, that call was not put on the schedule, and I don't have an injury update on Tatum Bethune, but Jeremy Fowler of ESPN did come out and give us a good news injury update for George Kittle. after the game, Kittle said, I don't think it's a high ankle sprain, but during the game, he looked really frustrated and upset. We had to wait for imaging. He has since gotten that injury. It's a low grade ankle sprain. I imagine that he'll be day to day. Maybe he has to sit out 1 week, which they really want to win each of these games coming up, but it's a blessing to, miss a
at
high
least it's
sprain.
it's not the worst that it could have been. It's not a high ankle sprain, which would have guaranteed he'd be out. So like you said, it's day to day, low to mid ankle sprain, and we'll see if George can go. But I would think that regardless of what his status is, you're dealing with a short week, so that's going to be tough for his recovery.
Yeah.
And he's probably not going to be anywhere near 100%. So I would think that probably what you're going to have is Kittle is going to try to gut it out, but he's probably going to be more of a blocker than a receiver in that game if his ankle is bothering him. Or he's somebody that they can go to early but not late. Yeah. Something like that. He'll be limited, and they're going to have to deal with that. At best, he's going to be limited.
Now, luckily, Jake Thomas has done really well every time he's had to fill in for George Kittle. I actually think that they should have challenged and gotten that touchdown with him last week, but even earlier in the season when Jake had to fill in. But obviously also losing George Kittle is huge at the same time, especially when you're going against the Bears. He's a big body target. He was their leading receiver in the last 2 games, and that's been really helpful for him. We also don't know what Ricky Pearsall's status is going to be. So they are kind of getting down to the bottom of their pass catchers. So I don't know. Maybe they'll do something they did last week where Christian McCaffrey, he was day-to-day in practice. He ended up actually leaving practice at the end of the week and then not participating in the walkthrough, but he played on Sunday. But I think he had maybe 1 target in the passing game. He was really his touches as a ball carrier were really downplayed compared to other games, and he was more used as a decoy. I could see them doing something like that as well, just to
possibly their offense. It's a pain mitigation issue for George, and he's always been very tough in playing through that, but it's hard. You're at the end of the season and you've hurt your ankle. That's going to be tough.
And it's hard because part of you, if I'm getting into George Kittle's head, not to speak for him, but part of it is like, okay, winning these next 2 games, you get the number 1 seed. I want to push to do that. But then the other part is like, we already have a playoff spot, locked up. Do I want to risk, maybe it's unstable right now and I go to cut on it and then it is a high ankle sprain. And now this is affecting how I can play in the playoffs as maybe the head coach or even Kittle.
But
I think it's fair to be wary of how you're feeling. And obviously everyone's playing through a little bit of pain, but if there is severe stiffness or instability, you'd probably rather sit out the Bears game than risk it affecting the
players. Caution being the better part of valor on that one, sure. But unfortunately, that's not how Kyle thinks. Kyle thinks about the game in front of him.
True. Moving on from George Kittle's injury, I did want to give some other good news. And I know it's hard to say good news because his ankle's hurt, but good that he avoided something more severe. The Pro Bowl list came out today, and a lot of 49ers players are on it, Tom. We have 6 players. Obviously, Trent Williams, been incredible. He's also, knock on wood, played every game this season and seems way more revitalized this season than he did last season. Speaking of George Kittle, he's on the list. And then fullback Kyle Juszczyk is on the list. Christian McCaffrey going for his 1,000 is on the list. And then long snapper John Weeks is on the list. Special teamer Luke Gifford is on the list. And then Sky Moore is an alternate. What is your reaction to that Pro Bowl list?
I think that's right. That the guys that truly deserve it, Trent, Kittle, and McCaffrey. That's who I would have picked too.
Yeah.
And then Juszczyk, because by default he's one of the few fullbacks, so he gets in. And then the nod to special teams, and that's earned too. Special teams been great. So, why not? I don't know how you go about evaluating a long
I know.
snapper.
I'm like, what is it? Is
Somebody does. They pick somebody for a reason. Yeah. I don't know, accuracy or the lack of bad snaps, maybe something like that. And Gifford could be just the special teams tackle numbers. I don't know.
Okay.
But it's a
His
nod to
team
the
has been good, but it's when I read those names, I was like, I don't know
yeah,
anything.
I would be interested to know how are long snappers evaluated. I have no idea. But I would guess it's just accuracy of the snap. That if it's a clean snap, you get a point for that, and whoever's clean throughout the year gets it.
Yeah.
But
And
I love that
sprints,
it's a nod to Brant Boyer that
yes.
he's done an incredible job with special teams, and that's made a huge difference. I mean, it's part of the reason they have the record they do is Boyer.
Absolutely. Absolutely. My dad and I were talking about that when we were discussing, okay, what's different? And special teams is so overlooked, but it's been not only neutral, but a huge positive for the 49ers, which is such a step up from the fact that they have been bottom 5 in the special teams unit. Like, they were committing penalties, they were missing field goals, missing extra points, they were letting the other
Fumbles.
team start on their field side of the field. That happened. I can't remember how many games last year we were like, well, special teams, gave them good field position on this many drives. It was like, we overlook it, but it's like that. It's like defense almost. And the offense, but it's like if you allow the opposing team to start on your side of the field, like, they don't have to work as hard.
Right. You can't give them short fields, and you have to change the special teams field position. And they've done that. And as Throwback points out, the Rams fired their special teams coach because that was the game against Seattle, was giving up the punt return touchdown.
Did they fire him in the middle of the year?
Yeah, they fired him that week. He had like a couple days, and then Sean McVay said, "You're gone, dude." Yeah, and it cost him the Seattle game. Absolutely right.
Yeah.
There were a lot of things that cost him the Seattle game, especially McVay, but that punt return was critical, obviously. So give Boyer a lot of credit. The Niners have the second-ranked special teams unit in the league. And in past years, they had the worst 5.
Yeah.
So before, we would think, well, if they do something good, that's gravy. And if they do something bad, that's normal. And now we've got a special teams group that's doing things well consistently.
Yeah.
And that's amazing.
Mistake, I'm like shocked. I'm like, whoa, I didn't expect this. I used to it was special teams, and I'm like watching him, like, don't mess up. Now I'm like, oh, I turn around, I go fill up my water because I just assume that whatever they need to do is being done.
Yeah, you can trust it, which is amazing. And Panera almost hit that 64-yarder off the crossbar. That was tough.
Yeah. Obviously there was no defensive players listed in this group. Are you shocked by that or not?
No, that's earned. That's earned. I mean, who are you going to put on there?
Exactly.
Nobody. You can't make an argument for any defensive starter making the Pro Bowl. And I expected that. I didn't think any defender deserved it. I didn't expect to see anybody, and we didn't.
This brings me to my next topic, which is yesterday. I like to think of the day after the game, you're of a little bit more sound and reasonable mind. But yesterday I was so excited, and I was like, 49ers are unstoppable, score, 5 touchdowns. It hasn't been done before since the, potentially one of the best quarterbacks in NFL history, almost scoring 50 points. This is incredible. I was really hyped up. My dad, who has really high expectations for this team, I'm watching this game like, best team ever. This is great. He's texting me every time they're on defense, and he's like, this is horrible. This is not setting us up for good games in the future. You don't win championships this way. You don't even get to the championship this way. And I think both of us probably have some points. And I just wanted, there's been a lot of overreactions to such a dominant performance by the 49ers. And I kind of wanted to pose the question to you. Right now, are the 49ers unstoppable, or are they vulnerable? And can we make a case for both?
Yeah, it is both. The offense is unstoppable. I mean, scoring on 16 of 19 possessions is an unstoppable offense. That's by definition.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they are moving the ball. Purdy is playing well. Everybody is playing well. The offensive line, their best performance of the year. Their last two games have been great. Purdy playing really well. Kittle, McCaffrey. So it's just all cylinders clicking. And yeah, so the offense is unstoppable. Now, the question becomes, can they drag the defense along? Can they win playoff games by outscoring people? Generally, playoff games are you need to run the ball, you need to stop the run. And the Niners are kind of questionable on both of those. That they ran the ball well against Indy, and they're tied for first in run defense. So that's an impressive thing. It shows the offensive line is winning their matchup.
Yeah.
And that's something you have to have in a playoff game. Your offensive line has to win, and they're winning. And that's a very good sign going forward. So I put a lot of faith in that the offensive line, not only in just driving the field, but in pushing points up in the red zone, that they're doing so well in the red zone now. So I look at the offense and say, you're going to have to be a very good defense to stop this team the way they're playing right now. That said, there's things that can slow the offense down: penalties, turnovers, sacks. And so if you can avoid those three, this offense can roll. And I have a lot of faith in this offense in a playoff setting to do what they need to get done.
When you mentioned the 49ers' success on third down, I think that's something that I definitely want to highlight, because last year there were so many times they could walk down the field, but once they got into the red zone or on the third down, like on the most critical possessions, that's when they would not be able to move the ball anymore, not be able to get an inch, and they were walking away, with, I want to say, with field goals, but then they would trot out Jake Moody and he would miss, and it's like, oh, you just ate up 9 minutes of the clock, looked like you were having a good drive, and you walked away with either 3 or nothing. This year, this is a cool stat that I saw on Twitter, so I saved it. Brock Purdy leads the NFL with 146 passer rating on third down in the fourth quarter this season. So
that's a change.
Critical quarter, on the most critical down, Brock Purdy is absolutely killing it, which is, like you are about to say, a huge change from not only last season, but the last couple seasons with Brock Purdy at quarterback. Even their more successful season where they made it to the Super Bowl with Christian McCaffrey, the red zone and third down was what troubled the offense.
Yeah. And as Steve-O points out in the chat, no CMC or Kittle last year. True. But they did have Ayuk. They did have more weapons at receiver than they do now. So that counterbalances to a degree. But still, I think that there's been a step up by the offense. That you look at this team on third down, they are second in the league, over 50% conversion rate. That's only been done by 22 teams in NFL history to end the season at over 50% on third down. So that's the level that this offense is playing at right now.
Yeah.
It's historic. In addition to the 16 and 19, in addition to the red zone efficiency, the third down, they are a very confident team on third down. And that's how you win playoff games, because that's how you sustain drives, and that's how you create football that's more balanced, and it allows you to give your defense more rest, and it enables your defense to play at its best because they are rested. So if you can play that level of complementary football, that's a big step forward in winning playoff games.
Now we look over to the defense. And the defense, honestly, not only since last year, but since the beginning of the season, if for a while, for some reason, Robert Saleh was kind of like making magic tricks happen. The way that the defense played, or the way that the Colts played this game, was definitely different than I expected, and seems like probably different than Robert Saleh expected. D. Winters actually talked after in his post-game presser when he was talking about his interception, pick six, which congratulations to him. But he said, they were prepared for the Colts to do a lot of short game passes and run the hell out of Jonathan Taylor. And that at halftime, Robert Saleh actually did, instruct them and try to make adjustments. I saw a different streamer put up a stat that Phillip Rivers had above 100 passer rating in the first half, but then had a 57 passer rating in the second half or something. So huge difference there. They didn't totally stop them in the second half, so I don't want to say, oh, no worries at all. The Colts had I think started the game with two backups on their offensive line. They also lost an offensive lineman during the game.
And their center, who was big.
Almost no pressure on him the entire game. So stuff like that worries me when it comes to better, stronger competition. How did you feel about the defense maybe as the game went on, and if we're projecting kind of onto harder competition?
Yeah, a couple of things on Rivers' first half, second half. First half, I don't think Saleh was prepared for them to come out in a throw-first game plan like that. They weren't prepared. They weren't ready for it. They weren't schemed for it. And Saleh, to his credit, made second half adjustments. I also think something that hasn't been discussed but should be, Rivers is 44. He gets tired. I think that Rivers got tired in the second half. He's playing his second game when he hadn't played for 5 years. I think he was fatigued in the second half. And you could see that in throws that were underthrown.
Yes.
And I think that that's what happened, is that it's Saleh making adjustments, but it's also Rivers he's old. He got tired. And there were a lot of throws that just didn't make it. He had Tyler Warren wide open for a touchdown and missed him. Yeah. There were a lot of plays. Warren should have had a huge night.
Yes.
And there were like 3 or 4 passes where he just missed them.
And so
I think Rivers faded in the second half. People need to talk about that. You got to factor in his age and that he's coming into his second game after not playing in so long, that his arm's going to get tired. And it did.
Yes. I think that's a fair point. When they made the adjustment to kind of move up a little bit and then Phillips would underthrow, it wasn't necessarily like if he would have gotten the ball there, they would have been successful. The defensive player, the quarterback or the safety, wasn't really in the correct position. It was more like Phillip couldn't get the ball there. And I don't think, when we look to, we talked about Pro Bowlers, Brock Purdy didn't make the Pro Bowl. I think that had to do with you have to play a certain amount of games and snaps to qualify.
Yeah, you have to qualify in games played.
Sam Darnold was a Pro Bowler. Caleb Williams, I felt like kind of had a coming out party against the Packers at the end of that game. I think both of those quarterbacks, although have their weaknesses and their struggles, so I'm not saying they are going to nominate, but I don't think they're going to consistently overthrow or underthrow. Overthrow maybe, but underthrow in the way that Phillip Rivers did, especially in that second half.
Yeah, So it factored into their lack of success, and I noticed that, but then I've seen older quarterbacks play a lot, so I've seen everything, and I'm old. I'm a lot older than Rivers, so there's that. But yeah, it's just he faded, and that has the thing that I'm concerned about is the guys were open. That the Niner back 7 didn't play well. They're going to need a much better game out of everybody in the back 7. The problem is that they can't defend tight ends because they lost Fred, and they don't have another pass coverage linebacker, and they don't have another good safety in coverage. And Darrell Luter didn't look good. They targeted him.
I saw that.
Eric Kendricks looked bad. They targeted him. Hopefully he can get in better shape, because I think that this was his first week back after injury. Yes. So I think Kendricks can play better than this, but he didn't help his cause any. So the problem for Saleh is just you have this weakness. You can't defend tight ends. How do you deal with it? And the answer is bend, don't break. And we'll see if that can get it done. But that's going to be a problem in the playoffs, and that's going to be a problem next week. Once we talk about the Chicago game, we can get into that. Update on Tatum Bethune-Chili. The Kyle didn't, as Ashley said earlier, there's no Kyle press conference today. That might have been holiday related. So we don't have an update. Hopefully Kyle talks to the media tomorrow and
He
he'll give
talked
an
to
update
them
on Bethune then. But we
Wednesday.
don't know
This
what Bethune's status is. Yeah, Wednesday, right?
Okay, so
Wednesday,
there's
Thursday, which is tomorrow.
12:45
Yeah.
tomorrow.
Okay. So we'll find out then. We don't know because Kyle hasn't talked to the media today.
Yeah. I was trying to look. Johnny Odell's, who does a lot of film breakdowns, said that Sam Okwananu, Jordan Elliott, and Tatum Bethune coming back really helped with the run defense that we saw yesterday.
Yeah.
So hopefully we can get Tatum Bethune back, and that was minor. I brought up this comment because
he's critical. If they don't have Tatum Bethune against Chicago, they lose. Period.
Yeah. just straight to it, Tom. I brought up this comment because we've talked a lot about the safeties. Jair Brown, obviously, first quarter gives up a touchdown completely on him, totally whiffs. But then he comes back and he punches the ball out, and you're like, okay, that's exciting. How would you? I'm not as good at evaluating because sometimes I just don't know who. Like, I think. Sorry, my bad. I think last week I blamed Lenore for something that ended up being what's the other safety? I'm blanking.
Well, Malik Mustafa or Jair Brown.
Jason Pinnock is who
or Pinnock, yeah. Pinnock should not play again.
Yeah, but all that to say is sometimes I'm not excellent. I want to defer to you because I think you're better at evaluating this. How did you feel like Brown played? Obviously, the game I was at, he had a breakout game. I guess I got to go to every game, guys. I looked up. Can I say really quick? This is off topic. I looked up. My dad and I went to a game for Christmas. I looked up tickets, for his birthday. I looked up tickets to either this game coming up or the Week 18 game for a Christmas present. The same tickets that my dad and I sat in 3 weeks ago are more than 5 times the price. I'm not even, by the way, that's not an exaggeration. They're actually like, if they were 300, they're now more than 1,500 for the same exact seats. So we're not doing
because
this.
No. Well, yeah. You're not independently wealthy. So there's not a lot you can do. That's the market. These are the 2 most important games of the year. The Seattle game, the prices for that are just going to be crazy because that can be for the NFC 1 seed, and so that would be an enormous game. But yeah, it's just that's going to happen. I don't know what they can do. Siegel played badly, and he kind of talk about people fading. Siegel didn't play well when he finally got benched, and the problem with Siegel is he's just too small. His arms are too short to defend a tight end. He can have the coverage, he can be there, but he can't turn around and make a play on the ball. And his arms are too short, so you can throw over him and still get the completion. Yes. And he's a liability in the run game. So what can you really do with Siegel? The problem is that they're just not good enough, deep enough at safety. That Siegel, you really don't want him to play now. Pinnock, you don't really want him to play now. And that leaves you with Mustafa and Brown. And you have to live with Jair getting beaten in pass coverage, and he was. But he also had 9 tackles in the game. So he was still a factor in the run defense and still played pretty well when you consider that he also had the punch out. So you're just going to have to live with the fact that Mustafa can cover, but Jair can't. And you're just going to have to say, okay, who are we facing that week, especially at tight end? Can they kill us?
Yeah.
And it's not something that Saleh can do. He can't just wave a magic wand and make an all-pro safety appear. I mean, it's just, okay, let's get Ronnie Lott out there. You can't do that. So it's a talent-driven league, and the Niners don't have talent at the second safety other than Mustafa, and they don't have a pass coverage linebacker, and they're just going to have to live with that. There's nothing they can do about that.
No. I was trying to pull up, Kyle Posey had a good tweet. It was kind of during the game when frustrations were high with the defense, but he was basically explaining they can't play man coverage, but they also can't play zone coverage, and they're screwed.
Yeah.
I would say if we want to transition this into the Bears game, is it defensive strategy wise? better. Obviously, Caleb Williams is a talented player, but he's a young player, and we haven't seen it we haven't seen him consistently play well for long periods of time yet, without making some mistakes. Would your game plan be to kind of hone in on the run like the 49ers did in this Colts game and try to say, hey, Caleb, beat us with your arm? Or is that not the right decision? Also, there's the Caleb can scramble. That wasn't necessarily something you had to worry about when it came to Phillip Rivers.
Yeah.
How do you feel about this upcoming Bears matchup? We'll start from the 49ers defense perspective, and then we'll...
Okay. The Bears are tough because they have a great offensive line, and they've got solid running backs behind it, and Caleb can run. Caleb nearly has 400 yards rushing this year. And then you've also got Swift and Monangai, who are a great 1-2 punch for them. And so for the Niners, it's how do you stop the run game and at the same time stop the tight ends? That's the problem in this game, is that they've got Colston Loveland, Cole Kmet. They could go to both of those guys. The Niners can't cover either one. Now what? You have to gear up to stop one or the other. And what Saleh has been doing is platooning, where he goes big nickel with a linebacker or a safety, and then small nickel with Upton Stout. And you can do that, but if there's times when it's a running down and you've got your big nickel in, and then they've got a tight end against a linebacker, they'll exploit that.
Yes.
And Saleh's just going to have to guess right, and they're going to have to figure it out. But yeah, it's just defensively, you have to manufacture pressure, but still keep Caleb contained. I would think that I would prefer to have cage Caleb in.
Containing. You said that so casually. You just got to keep Caleb contained. Like, have they ever done that even when they had Bosa and Fred Warner on the field? No.
Well, Bosa never, because Bosa doesn't care about caging a quarterback. He will always rush the passer. But in this configuration of the defensive line, they can. If they do that. Cleveland Farrell is very good at setting an edge, and so he might be able to contain Caleb on his side if you make that part of the strategy. And so I would say that if you're not going to be able to get to the quarterback unless you blitz, it's better to have your ends sort of spy on Caleb and just say that you're not going to beat us wide, and let's see what happens there. That's what I would do. But then, I'm not an NFL defensive coordinator. I'm just a fan. So,
we did see the two rookies get home one time, a little bit promising. I would hope that it would happen more than once by now, but I don't want to poo-poo the fact that it actually happened. Can we?
Sure. Yeah, give them credit. CJ West and Alfred Collins both. And in CJ, that was just pure power, just overpowering the line to get in. But that was overpowering a line that isn't their starters. And now you're going up against Chicago and your favorite Drew Dahlman. I think he probably made the Pro Bowl. He might be an All-Pro this year, the way he's been playing. So it's going to be a lot tougher against Chicago because their line is just so talented.
Yeah,
they've got some of the best people in the league. It's going to be a lot harder to get internal pressure on Caleb. So I would think that what you want to do is just make sure that you deny him outside running lanes and force him to throw and live with it, because Williams is, he's only completed 57% of his passes in the last 3 games combined. That's his average. So you can live with just saying, let's see what you do with it. Just as in this game last night, there were a lot of incompletions that were on the quarterback, not on the defense. And they're going to need to do the same thing against Chicago, that you can count on Caleb being inconsistent and just not throwing accurate balls. But he's also capable, I can do English sometimes, of also throwing the ball on a laser. I mean, the touchdown in the Green Bay game was a phenomenal throw.
Yeah.
And so he can do that. He's capable of it. But on balance,
every time
on balance, 57% completion rate isn't that good in today's NFL. So I think that's what you have to do, is just live with Caleb missing, and you're going to have to use that as a mechanism to get stops and hopefully get a 3rd and long, and then you can blitz.
Yeah. I definitely think this game, I mean, Ben Johnson, I know some people said they're not bought into Caleb. I don't necessarily know what bought in means. I don't know if he's, amazing, but I think he's definitely going to put up a fight. And then I'm excited / nervous to see Ben Johnson. I know he's going to be in his bag creativity wise and trying to confuse this younger defense, and seeing the Ben Johnson versus Sala matchup is going to be interesting. Also on the offense, we can go over to that side of the ball now. The 49ers have 5 wins in a row, but those 5 wins, and that's awesome. You got to win games in the NFL. These teams, I'm going to go through these teams and I'm going to say that they're bad, but these teams have also been in very close games and or beaten teams that you might consider better than the 49ers. So the last 5 games, it's the Cardinals game, the Panthers game, Cleveland, Titans, and a banged up Indy. Those are the last 5 games that the 49ers have been, peaking on, and a lot of people have the 49ers hype has grown, obviously, when you win 5 games in a row and score 50 points. But when you look at those names, you're like, okay, bigger matchups are ahead. Now, what you could also say is the Panthers have beaten a team that is ahead of the 49ers right now. Cleveland was 3 points away from beating the Bills, which I think a lot of people would say Josh Allen and the Bills would give the 49ers fits right now. So there's a lot of parity in the NFL. You got to beat the teams ahead of you. So I'm not downing them on this, but I do think this Bears game and then revisiting the Seahawks now that they've had an entire season to kind of meld together versus week 1, felt like their game plan wasn't exactly what you would expect it to be. I didn't like their game plan going against the 49ers, and they didn't have as much of, I don't know if you want to say continuity. It just felt like they weren't all the way together. There's a lot of craziness that can happen week 1 before.
Yeah. Week 1 is always an anomaly game just because you never really know how prepared your team is, and you have to see them play and then adjust as a team and as a coaching staff to figure out, okay, what do we do? So we'll find out. But going into this game, I think that on offense, it's keep doing what you're doing. Yeah. And just hope that your offensive line can continue to win. And with the Bears, there's a couple of things that I would point to is that Montez Sweat is their best pass rusher by far, 9.5 sacks. Their second guy is at 5, then it's 3.5. So he's a third of their sacks. Okay. And the way that Trent is playing, Sweat's not going to get past Trent. McKivitz is playing really well. So I think that they can handle
in the Colts game. Pooney held up against Buckner pretty well.
They had Spencer Burford, and Buckner didn't do anything, but it was his first game back from a neck injury. He'd been out for 5 weeks. So, Buckner wasn't in game shape yet, so that's part of the factor there. But we'll still have to see how things happen with Chicago. But the key with the Bears is if you can stop Sweat, chances are you can keep your offense going because Brock isn't going to get that pressure. The rest of their defensive line is a step below him. If the tackles can handle him, then Brock has time. And Brock with time, last 2 games, he's shown what he can do, 7 touchdowns.
Yeah.
So, and more than 50% of your third down conversions. So,
they got to win.
If they can contain Sweat, they've made great progress toward winning the game. And the tackles have proven that they can do that. And so we'll see if that's what they can do. And then also the running game. They have to do what they can for Christian. And I would expect that given that Christian is 151 yards away from 1,000, and that's all on the receiving side, he's already over 1,000 running, that Kyle is going to look to create explosives for Christian. He's going to try to get him some big plays to get to that. So Christian needs to average 76 yards a game receiving to get to 1,000. I think Kyle is going to scheme up some stuff to try to get Christian on an explosive or 2.
Okay. I think it's going to be a higher scoring game, much like the Colts game.
Yeah.
I feel like the Bears can put up points. The 49ers are going to have to put up points. It might come down to the turnover battle. The 49ers, as you said, have been completing some explosive plays. In the past, that's burned them. In the last 2 games, it's been phenomenal. So it'll be interesting to see, what trend happens there. What's Caleb Williams' touchdown to interception ratio? Do you know? You see,
Off the top of my head, no. He can throw some balls up in the air. He can throw it over. So Caleb can do that. The key with the Bears, the absolute key to the game is not turn the ball over, because their defense is very good, top 3 in the league in turning the ball over, creating turnovers, getting picks. And that's what their defense lives on. That if they don't turn the ball over, you can run on them, you can throw on them, you can march down the field on them. Their defense isn't that good. It's just very opportunistic. They've got great hands in their back 7, and so they can pick a lot of balls off. That's going to be a danger, is that especially at corner, their receivers are good at interceptions and picks. Brock's going to have to be accurate. He can't throw balls up in the air of just 50-50 balls, go get it. That can be a little dangerous against this team. You have to be careful with the ball. But if they cannot turn the ball over, their chances of beating Chicago are very good, because their defense otherwise is below average. It's not that great.
Okay. If you're comparing the 2025 season, now Brock Purdy's played less games, but he has 17 touchdowns and 8 interceptions. Now 3 of those came in one really bad game. So, and then Caleb Williams has 23 touchdowns and 6 interceptions. So a little bit of a better touchdown to interception ratio going on there for Caleb, but neither are, phenomenal. And it feels like if either defense is has the ability and the hands to actually hold on to it, that they might be able to get one. Do you predict that there'll be a turnover on either side of the ball?
Probably, but the Niners can live with a turnover. The problem is they can't give up multiple ones.
Got it.
But provided they don't turn the ball over or only do it once, I like their chances in this game, because the Chicago defense can't stop them, and the Niner offense has been just plowing people. So that's one. The other thing that's going to be critical in this is injuries. It's just, we don't know. I would hope that, given that Bethune walked off the field on his own, given that Kittle has low to mid ankle sprain, I think both of those guys play, and they're going to need both. They're going to be absolutely vital. Even if Kittle isn't much of a factor in the passing game, as a blocker, they're still going to need him. For Chicago, the key for them is going to be if Rome Odunze plays or not, because then Chicago has somebody for Caleb to throw to that the Niners secondary can't stop, that Odunze can outrun him, and that he can create a deep threat where they're going to have a lot of problems with him. So if Odunze plays, that's a big factor in the game. But right now, and Bigger is going to be upset with me, I think the Niners win this because their offense
I just saw that.
Consistent. Yeah. Well, I don't blame them. I've been bad. I'm what, 8-7 with the Niners this year.
Sting the 49ers right now.
Yeah, it's just I am no wizard at looking through my crystal ball this year anyway. But I think there's a lot of factors where you can look at it and just say that the Niners win this provided they take care of the ball enough.
Yeah.
And provided that the defense can do something to limit Caleb as a runner, and hopefully Odunze doesn't play, and that limits what Chicago can do downfield to beat them for explosives.
Yeah, I think it's going to be, both teams are going to score at least in the 30s. I also have the Niners winning. Yeah. Now, winning this game also is the 49ers are trying to get that number 1 seed so that they can have the bye week. If they win this game and the Seahawks win against the Panthers, which isn't a given because the Panthers are randomly beating good teams, although not the 49ers, who did everything in their power to let them win. Thank you, Panthers, for being the 49ers, biggest fan, I guess. They also helped the 49ers get in the playoffs. I'm on a tangent. Now, what could be interesting, so either A, both the Seahawks and the Niners win, which is kind of what I think is going to happen.
Which should go down.
Yes. And then they'll be competing for the number 1 seed. That game will probably get bumped up to Sunday Night Football, but even whatever, that game will be highly important. But what could be interesting is if the Seahawks lose, and I don't know, maybe you know better, Tom, since you're in the area, you might know their tendencies better. But we've seen the 49ers do this before. They might choose to sit some starters if they know that they can't get that number 1 seed no matter what. And because we've seen them do that against Arizona because they're in the playoffs no matter what.
They are, but if I'm Seattle, I would prefer not to play the Rams if they end up being the 1 seed. But if the Niners are in position to win the 1 seed, then if I'm Seattle, I would sit my guys in week 18. Yes, but I don't think we're going to be in that situation. I think that Seattle knows that they have to take care of business against Carolina, and they will. Okay. I don't see the Seahawks losing, and I don't think the Niners are going to lose either. And so week 18 is going to be for everything.
Well, Tom is bumming me out right now. I was trying to think of an additional way that the Niners could win. I was like, look, maybe I don't even have to try week 18. Never mind.
Yeah. I just think that's going to be the prize heavyweight fight. Week 18.
I was trying to get those tickets down, Tom. I was telling you I want a week 18 tickets.
They're
not going to play their start. Everyone, you guys should sell me tickets right now for very cheap because you don't want to go watch the backups, right?
Right. Well, but week 18, that's usually going to be the case anyway. Is the final regular season game is usually overpriced regardless, just because it's the final regular season game. Yeah. And in this case, it's the regular season game with everything on the line in likelihood. But yeah, I think that the Rams are going to win out. Their next 2 are easy. It's Arizona and Atlanta, and then Seattle wins, Niners win, and then it's Seattle and the Niners.
With how it's set up right now, would the 49ers go to Philadelphia? Is that correct?
Yeah. They would be 6th seed and go to Philly. And given the success they've had against Jalen Hurts, they can win that game. Yeah, given the way that the offensive line is playing, Purdy is playing, it's just they need to be healthy. It's just, can they get the team fully healthy, at least to the extent of the guys that can return and play? Now, I'm not talking about Bosa and Fred coming back or anything like that. Just who they have now that can play does. That's what they need.
I have a question. Are the Bears game, and maybe I get confused when it comes to playoffs, are the Bears also in contention for the number 1 seed? Like if they beat the Niners?
Yeah, but that requires the Rams losing, I think.
Okay.
I don't know who wins.
They're not in control of their own destiny.
I haven't paid attention to who wins a tiebreaker, Bears or Rams, if they end up with the same record. But Chicago is in very good shape to win the NFC North, and so they should be the 2 seed. Yeah.
I was reading the chat. This guy says Bears game is dangerous and concerning. I agree. I think
it is. It's going to be tight.
Biggest test that they've had in 5 weeks. This guy's one second. My laptop might die. You talk for 1 second.
Okay. But can Fred return? Yeah, we'll see.
I don't think Fred Warner is going to return. Not to down him. I love that he's doing everything, and I think that you kind of have to keep, like, you want to have a goal and a mindset. Why is my computer dying all of a sudden? Anyways, like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. My name is Ashley Ariana. I'm going to end this pretty abruptly. Please follow Tom Jensen, NinerCast on Twitter. He did an excellent breakdown, of all the takeaways from this game. I'm sure he's going to have the best takeaway or preview / stuff to look for the upcoming Bears game. Tom, I always have the absolute best time with you, and coming off a really good 49er game like this, it's awesome. I'm going to go live tomorrow after practice. So if you're not, make sure to like and subscribe here as well. Sorry for ending so abruptly, but my computer is sending me all these alerts, and I'm worried it'll die.
Okay. Yeah. No, understood. But great time as always, Ashley. Thank you. And happy holidays to you and to everybody in the chat. Have a wonderful holiday and have a wonderful time with friends and family. And this is a time when we can all rejoice and just celebrate being with each other.
Hold on. This is not it. Because that made me want to, then I got, okay. I don't know where my thing is. I love you guys so much. I agree, Tom. I feel bad that I can't be more mushy. I love Christmas and I love the holidays and I love reasons to be thankful and grateful. I try to be thankful and grateful every single day. because it really does influence your perspective and the things that you see in the world. So I hope everyone has a wonderful holiday. Like I said, I'll try to do a little live tomorrow, but I want everyone to go follow Tom on Twitter, give him extra love. These shows with him are probably the reason that I've, been able to continue doing my YouTube channel for so long. Because even when I don't have other streams or I feel uninspired, just getting to come talk to Tom is something that I look forward to. And it's helped me be consistent, which has helped a lot with my own self-confidence, having, a hobby / thing that I make sure I do every single week. So I just want to thank you for that, Tom.
Thanks, Ashley. Yeah, it's just, it's fun and inspiring and great to be with you throughout the seasons. This has been a really fun time for me to talk Niners with you and to get to know you and to get to know everybody in the chat. It's just, this is a special season. This is something we can really rejoice in, is that this is a team that shouldn't be here and is. And so just enjoy the ride, enjoy where they're at, and just root them through. Let's see what they can get done.
I love you so much, Tom. And thank you guys. Everyone's welcome. We really appreciate you guys. And these Tuesday shows are the ones that I look forward to the most because of, as everyone said to start the show, Tom is the best and most info ever. So thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it. Have a great Christmas if I don't see you before then. But like and subscribe and tune in tomorrow. And make sure to read Tom's article because we're going to have a lot coming for you. I'll probably go live actually on Christmas too because there's going to be games. Although I don't know if they're important, if they have important ramifications for the 49ers. I don't think so. Anyways, I'm going to stop talking now. Love you guys so much. Bye.